Hi, this is Nathan Tintle. In this Learning Goal video, we will talk about how to compute the standardized statistic and obtain a p-value from a simulation comparing two group proportions. We will use the Swimming with Dolphins dataset to talk about this learning goal. We've conducted a simulation of the null hypothesis, that is, no association between the group people were in and whether or not they showed substantial improvement on their depression symptoms. To compute a p-value, we will do the same thing we've done before. The p-value is the probability of obtaining our observed statistic or more extreme. In this case, the p-value is 0.02 because 0.02 is the probability of obtaining our statistic, 0.467, the difference in the group proportions, or larger because we have an alternative hypothesis that's one-sided when simulating. So the p-value, 0.021. To compute a standardized statistic, we will again use methods we've seen earlier in the course. A standardized statistic can be obtained by taking the observed statistic minus the mean of the statistics under the null hypothesis divided by the standard deviation of statistics simulated from the null hypothesis. To obtain this, we can take our observed statistic, 0.467, minus 0. 0 is the value of the mean of the statistics if the null hypothesis is true, divided by the standard deviation of the statistics, which we obtain from our simulation, 0.188. This gives us a standardized statistic of 2.48. We've talked before about how standardized statistics greater than 2 give us strong evidence against the null hypothesis, the same conclusion we reached from the p-value. A couple of words of caution. As we've said before, the standardized statistic and the p-value are two alternative ways of summarizing the data. The standards for assessing the strength of evidence from p-values and standardized statistics is exactly the same here as it was earlier in the course. Secondly, when we plug the mean in to compute the standardized statistic, typically you would use the mean value of the statistic if the null hypothesis is true. In this case, it's 0. It's not really that different if you use the mean of the simulated null distribution. In this case, that was 0.002. Typically, we just use sort of the hypothetical mean from the null hypothesis, but either way gets you a very similar answer.